Investigators say the East Area Rapist has attacked several teenage girls.
A 29-year-old wife was raped while her tied-up husband had to listen.
It's so warm in Concord tonight that people have their doors and windows open, but the police are saying lock up tight.
Every time the East Area Rapist strikes in the new city, the police switchboard lights up.
And some leads develop, but a clear identification has not been made.
It started with a serial rapist and grew into a manhunt for a murderer that spanned 500 miles. Hello, I'm Dan Ashley. Welcome to a special ABC7 presentation, Chasing the Golden State Killer. Joseph D'Angelo, the man police accused of 40 years of terror and torment, is now in jail, charged with 12 murders. The case, the stuff of Hollywood movies and real-life nightmares. As the investigation unfolds, we comb the ABC7 archives and document decades of fear. For the Bay Area, it starts in the fall of 1978, when the community already had plenty of other reasons to be nervous and on edge.
These are the first pictures out of Guyana on the incredible orgy of death that took place in the People's Temple Agricultural Mission at Jonestown.
Disturbing news made local headlines in 1978. More than 900 followers of Reverend Jim Jones committed suicide by drinking cyanide-laced poison. Days later, two of San Francisco's most prominent politicians are assassinated.
Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed.
Also making news back then, Jerry Brown is re-elected in the fall to his second term as governor. He is said to be still dating singer Linda Ronstadt. The 49ers are in a massive losing streak, and the Raiders are playing their last season with John Madden as coach. But fall also brings a predator into the Bay Area. It's a new hunting ground for a serial criminal already terrorizing Sacramento.
He came in, he had a ski mask on, and jumped on the bed and had a knife.
And there was a man shining this flashlight in my eyes with a ski mask on, holding a large butcher knife.
My husband was home. We went to bed. Our bedroom door opens, and all I see is a flashlight.
He knew he had leather gloves on. I could hear him. I could feel them.
He told us with clenched teeth, "Shut up, or I'll kill you."
He asked in a very harsh whisper, like, "Do you want to die? Do you want me to kill your mother?"
He untied my ankles, told me to follow him. I'm in a little teeny nightie, and I walk down the hallway. And as I'm walking down the hallway, I'm saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to be raped."
The first attacks are on the east side of Sacramento County, so the suspect is dubbed the East Area Rapist. As the rapes continue, newspaper headlines describe a community in panic. In February 1978, Katie and Brian Majori are shot to death in Rancho Cordova near Sacramento while out on an evening walk with their dog. Clues at the scene lead authorities to believe these are the East Area Rapist's first murders. Over the next few months, the rapes continue in Sacramento County and the Central Valley. Then in October of 1978, the attacker moves into the Bay Area, striking twice in Concord.
He raped a 29-year-old housewife near the Ignacio Valley Shopping Center at 5:30 this morning. Her husband was tied up nearby and had to listen. Her 8-year-old daughter was locked in the bathroom.
We dug into our ABC7 News film archives for a look back at the crimes that became a Bay Area obsession.
He robs and ransacks the home, tearing panties, bed sheets, and pillowcases.
You can call him a rapist, which he certainly is. He's also a burglar.
Concord police responded to 200 phone calls in the first few hours after the word got out about it.
People reporting prowler calls, suspicious circumstances. Some people even turning in their neighbors because they think that he might be the rapist.
Over the next 10 months, there are attacks in San Ramon, San Jose, Danville, Fremont, and Walnut Creek, in quiet suburban neighborhoods where residents are used to feeling safe.
The only thing we really know about the East Area Rapist is that he's a pro. He's been at this for 4 years now, and still nobody even knows what he looks like.
The crimes are carefully planned. Investigators believe the rapist is stalking specific victims, sometimes even entering their homes days before the actual attack.
This lawn was wet, and that means he left a trail of footprints.
Really horrible is the kids know about them. I was up at the swim club, and they had a sign saying, "Lock your homes as a prowler in the neighborhood." And a 10-year-old boy came up to me and said, "Oh, it's not a prowler, it's a rapist. Why don't they say rapist?"
Anxious residents buy guns and pack community meetings to learn how to protect themselves.
Okay, gentlemen asked if the telephone wires were cut here in the incident in San Ramon, and it's affirmative they were, from the inside.
It takes very little pressure to remove an entire window or even a sliding glass door.
Despite all their locked doors and bolted windows, they are all still very much afraid tonight of the East Area Rapist, and that makes them all, in a sense, his victims.
Adding to the terror, the rapist taunts his victims for years afterwards with phone calls. 13-year-old Mary Burwart of Walnut Creek was one of the youngest rape victims. Police believe the rapist had watched Mary from a playhouse in her yard.
After last night's attack, there's something new to worry about. Their children.
The rapist always wears a mask so victims don't know what he looks like. But over time, investigators come up with various sketches. They're based on neighbors' descriptions of suspicious men spotted in the days leading up to the attacks. In July 1979, the mysterious man slips up during an assault on a Danville couple. That's the predator's last known attack in Northern California. The trail goes cold. But what no one realizes is that the brutal rapist and murderer has moved on to Southern California, and he's amping up the violence.
They were bludgeoned to death with a log that was from a stack of firewood they had outside their home.
Santa Cruz resident Jennifer Carroll had just graduated high school when her father and stepmother were murdered in Ventura in the spring of 1980. Lyman Smith was about to be named a Superior Court judge. Charlene Smith was an interior decorator. Jennifer's 12-year-old brother found their bloody bodies hidden under the bed covers.
It was an extremely violent murder. It was an extremely intimate murder. To bludgeon someone, you're close, the blood is getting on you if you think about it. So who had that much anger? Who was that mad at them? 6 months later, the bodies of Keith and Patrice Harrington were also found under the covers in their home in Orange County. Keith was a medical student, Patrice a pediatric nurse. They'd been beaten to death.
When somebody described how they were killed, it was just shattering.
These two murders have been just a long-running question mark in these communities for going back literally decades.
The killer is dubbed the Night Stalker, then the original Night Stalker. That's because another notorious murderer, Richard Ramirez, would end up claiming the first title. Over the next 6 years, detectives say the original Night Stalker murders 10 people in Southern California. The killer's last known crime is in 1986, but despite tens of thousands of hours of investigation up and down the state, it's a cold case with no solid suspects and fading hope it will ever be solved. Enter Paul Holes.
I was obsessed with this case, there's no question about it.
It's the early 1990s. Holes starts work as a criminologist at the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Crime Lab in Martinez. He happens on a huge stash of cold case files labeled EAR, East Area Rapist, a serial predator he's never heard of. Holes starts reading, and he's hooked.
He committed 50 attacks in Northern California. 25 of those attacks had men in them, so 50% of the time, he is choosing to enter a house where there's a man in there.
This predator ties up the couples, then creates a unique alarm system with dishes.
He would get the plates and literally stack them on the back of the man as he's laying face down, bound. If he heard those plates move, that meant the man was trying to get out of his bindings.
The attacker often spends hours in the homes.
And he moved through that house like it was his. And if there was beer inside the refrigerator, he'd take the cans and he'd go out into the back patio, sit on the lawn chair and be drinking beer while the victims are left inside the house.
The rapist ransacks the houses, taking cash and mementos.
There is a fantasy component about these crimes. When he is stealing these items, he's wanting something later on to relive that fantasy.
As Holes combs through the evidence, DNA technology is in its early stages at the Contra Costa County Crime Lab. Holes starts comparing DNA samples from East Area Rapist cases with other crimes. At the same time, Southern California investigators on the original Night Stalker cases are also creating DNA profiles, but using different equipment.
And it took 4 years for the technology to mature to where both labs were doing the same.
In 2001, they finally confirmed the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker are one and the same person. The serial sexual predator is eventually renamed the Golden State Killer. But 15 more years go by and still no suspect's DNA matches samples found at the crime scenes. Frustrated investigators form a task force to generate new tips and offer a $50,000 reward.
The answer's out there. We need a name.
All the while, genetic technology keeps improving, making it possible for people to find long-lost relatives by uploading their own DNA information onto a free website called GEDmatch. Paul Holes realizes that could be a key for law enforcement too. He tests his theory on DNA profiles of his own family.
And uploading them into GEDmatch and starting to learn how GEDmatch worked. That is when I realized I can do this.
In January of this year, Holes uploads the crime scene DNA and starts finding people who may be related to the killer.
Now I'm talking, third, fourth, fifth cousins. These very distantly related, but it gives us a starting point.
Holes and other investigators pore over the results, working with a genetic genealogist, using obituaries, gravesite locators, census records, and DNA databases to build a family tree for the killer. Then they look for people believed to be about the same age as the suspect, with ties to California. They narrow it down to 5 suspects, including Joseph D'Angelo, a former police officer now living near Sacramento. Investigators follow D'Angelo for days, waiting for him to throw away something, anything, with his DNA on it.
When they discard their DNA in a public place, we can lawfully grab that, test it, and if it matches, now you have probable cause.
Investigators are not revealing exactly how they finally got D'Angelo's DNA, but they do say it's a perfect match to the DNA found at Golden State Killer crime scenes.
We found the needle in the haystack.
Within hours of the test results, the 72-year-old D'Angelo is arrested at his home outside Sacramento, and detectives move in to comb the house for evidence. So, who is Joseph D'Angelo?
This is someone's brother, this is someone's ex-husband, this is someone's classmate.
Also someone's co-worker. Meet the man who had lunch with him nearly every day, and a woman who says she's been to hell and back, only now sharing her story.
Nobody wants to walk around with it, hi, Mary Burwood, rape victim.
That's next, when we continue our ABC7 special presentation, Chasing the Golden State Killer.